Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot and a member of the PMDG 737 tech team. Welcome to tutorial number 3 for the PMDG Boeing 737 in Flight Simulator 2024. Today we are going to have a look at the walkaround. So we have already concluded tutorials 1 and 2 where we powered up the airplane and conducted the flight deck safety inspection, and we've also already set up the electronic flight bag to decide on the fuel quantity and stuff like that. If you haven't initiated the loading process at this point, then it is recommendable that you do that now, especially if you have to refuel a larger amount of fuel, which can take a little bit of time. Now, when all of that is done, the pilot flying would get to work on the pre-flight procedure, while the pilot monitoring would go out for the exterior inspection, aka the walkaround. Today, let's go ahead and start with the walkaround. So, the threats that are associated with this phase of the operation are that you may be missing bypass pins, poor tire conditions, brake disintegration, incorrect oleo extension, fuselage damage, leaks, bird strike evidence, ice on the airplane, pitot and static system blockage, and stuff like that. Now, this list is not exhaustive and there may be many more things associated with this. So let's go ahead and start setting up for the walkaround, because there are a couple of things that we want to do in the flight deck before we do that. The first of them is to actually set the park and brake, because this is required to be able to check the brake wear indicator pins. Next up, we want to ensure that the lights are turned on, so ensure that the position light is in the steady position, and also turn on the wheel well light, because that really makes it a lot easier to check everything inside the wheel well, which even during daylight is a very dark place. At night we would also want to turn on the logo light as well. Now, from there we are going to turn on the electric hydraulic pumps, because we do want them running so that leaks in the hydraulic system would be easier to detect. Now, with all of that done, we can head out and start our walk-around procedure. So follow me outside. So the walk-around generally starts right at the steps or stairs or wherever you're getting out of your airplane. Now, we start in the very front over here by checking the condition of the TAT probe, which is the temperature sensor. From there we are moving a little bit further up front, and we got the angle of attack vane, and we got the captain's pitot tube. From there we would move down and into the forward wheel well. And in here we are going to find a couple of things. So first of all, you want to check the condition of the nose wheel steering mechanism. So those are the actuators down here. Then we got the steering cables, which are located over here, which we want to be sure are not damaged. And we're checking for any signs of a bird that may be stuck somewhere in the system, as well as possible hydraulic leaks and the general condition of the wheel well. So, with all of that in mind, we are also going to have a look at the tires themselves, where we want to ensure that there is no sign of any damages and that the general nose wheel assembly is in a good condition. With all of that checked, we also check the landing gear doors and their mechanisms over here to ensure that those are not showing any sign of damages. So with that in mind, let's go out of the wheel well again and then go to the front of the airplane, where we are going to check the status of the radome, make sure that there is no evidence of any bird strikes, and it is recommendable that you just go a little bit further away from the airplane so that you can just take a general overview of the plane itself, making sure that the plane is not bent, not generally damaged. You know, maybe one of the tires has seen better days and the airplane maybe sunk down to one side a little bit. That's all kind of stuff that is a lot easier to see when you stand a little bit further away from the plane. So from here we go back forward and we are checking both the first officer's pitot tube as well as the standby pitot tube and the first officer's angle of attack vane. We go a little bit further forward, and in here we got the external power access panel, and there are a couple of things to see over here, and I'm not talking about the fact that I'm using a beta version and the livery isn't totally aligned. That's going to be fixed for the release. But in here we got a couple of things that we want to see. First of all, we want to ensure that there is no stray plugs remaining. We want to see that the access door itself is actually going to be able to open and close properly and is not bent. You know, some people, sometimes RAM agents forget to close those things, and they may not, and they may stay open for the flight. You can imagine what may happen to a piece of metal over here, or a piece of aluminium, I should say. So from there we are moving along the one right door. Whenever we're checking a door, we always want to see that the door handle is actually flush inside its fitting, and that the door itself is sitting nicely in the frame. Now then, we got the emergency exit lights over here in the front. We are going to check the static port, make sure that there is nothing covering them. And then we are going to have a good look at the lower static port as well as at the cargo hold. Also have a look inside the cargo hold to see if there may be anything in there that is not supposed to be in there. Like this. From there we're moving back, and the next thing we get to check is the air conditioning inlet. So in here we want to make sure that the RAM door is in the full extended position, and we just have a quick look in there to make sure that there is no sign of birds nesting and stuff like that. If you are flying an airplane that's equipped with the conventional lights, then also do have a small look down here at the extendable landing lights. In any case, regardless of the lighting option fitted to the airplane, we are going to check the landing lights located in the forward wing, and we're going to check the leading edge for any sign of damages that you may find over here. Next we move to the engine, where we are going to check the leading edges of the entire fan, and we are also trying to look in between everything you see here to check the first compressor section, if there may be any feathers or anything. Also have a look at the acoustic lining, which is that part of the engine down here, to check for anything that might disrupt the airflow that could later on cause a compressor stall, for example. With all of that checked, we are going to move to the side of the engine, where we make sure that the engine oil access door is closed, we ensure that the thrust reverser pins are not showing, and then we are also going to have a look beneath the engine, because it only takes 8 degrees angle of bank when you're touching down to scrap the engine pot onto the runway, and we want to make sure that that has not happened. From there we are going to also have a look into the engine exhaust to check for any possible signs of damages over here. Now, once that check is complete, we are going to move along the leading edge of the wing. We check that the fuel panel, which is the panel down here, is actually closed. And then we are generally checking the condition of the wing over here. Make sure that the green position lights are illuminated on the wing, and if any 2 of them is out, that's fine. But if none of them is working, the airplane is not dispatchable. If you've got an airplane that's fitted with a split scimitar winglet, pay a special close attention to the lower part of the split scimitar and to the way that the split scimitar is mounted to the wing, in case any vehicles might have driven against this. We're also checking for the general condition of the winglet, and we make sure that we got 2 static wick dischargers fitted to the airplane over here. Finally, we got the position lights on the back of the wing, where we again got 2 of them. One has to be operative and illuminated in white. From there we're moving along the trailing edge, checking the condition of the flaps and the flap fairings for any sign of bird strike damage that might have happened, and when that check is complete we get to the landing gear assembly. Now the landing gear has a couple of things that we're checking. Let's start with the general landing gear over here, where we have a look at the general condition and make sure that it does not show any sign of bird strike damage, for example. Now, once we have checked that, both from the back as well as the front, once we've checked that, we are going to have a close look at the tires, which we check for their general conditions for any damages, and yes, those are modeled by PMDG, the tires are wearing down over time, as well as any possible hydraulic leakages and anything we may find over here, as well as the landing gear door and its condition. Now when all of that is checked, then we are going to go inside the wheel well, where we are going to find several things. Starting down here, we got the shear pin, and that one has to be in good condition. If it is not, then chances are that your landing gear is not going to retract. So this thing actually includes a safety mechanism over here. If that thing shears off, then your landing gear is prohibited from retracting into the wheel well, because as you can see, there is so many things that are inside here that would be vulnerable, that any stray rubber from a broken tire that might be ripping off could potentially cause significant damage to the airplane. In here we got a couple things that we're checking for. Those are the hydraulic reservoirs, which we got up here and up here. We're checking for any sign of leakages, and we're also looking at the quantity gauges that are located here and here, and make sure that there is sufficient quantity inside the hydraulic tanks. We do the same for the standby hydraulic system, which is the one located over here. On the side we got the nitrogen generation system, which in the beta that I'm using to record this is not textured yet. And then we have the APU fire, or the APU emergency shutoff and fire handle on the ground as well. Generally, take a good look around the wheel well, make sure that there are no fluids leaking and that everything is in a good condition. Now, from there, let's move back out and further aft to the airplane. We do have the aft cargo hold, which we are going to have a look into. And, well, make sure that the battery is removed from the segway over here, because those things do have a tendency to start burning and are actually banned on quite a lot of airlines. So make sure that that segway battery is removed, and generally check for any unwanted objects inside the cargo compartment. From there we're moving further aft, and we do have another door to check over here. The checks over here are exactly the same as they are on the front of the airplane. And then we also have the outflow valve over here, which has to be fully open on the ground. And make sure that there are no objects or anything inside of it. Now, moving further up, we got the APU air inlet, which currently is, of course, not operating, otherwise it would be a little bit louder over here. And then moving up the airplane, we got the emergency exit lights, and up here we got the pitot tube for the elevator fuel computer. So make sure that that thing is not blocked, otherwise the forces required on your control column may be rather extensive. Moving on to the side then, we got our stabilizer, where we check the leading edge to make sure that there are no damages over there. And moving around the stabilizer, we are checking for 3 static wick dischargers to be included on the side over here. Finally, making sure that there are no damages anywhere on the stabilizer, we are also having a look at the rudder, and there should be 4 static wick dischargers, 3 on the back and 1 at the top, located on the vertical stabilizer of the airplane. Moving on to the back then, we check the APU area to make sure that there is no sign of fire, no sign of damages, no fluids leaking, especially from the APU access door over here. And then we're also having a look at the tail skid to ensure that there is no scratches over here, which would indicate that a tail strike has happened to this airplane in the past. Also make sure that some of the green is still visible over here, which indicates that there have been no exceedances. We do check the same thing on the other side of the airplane, and over here we also have the markings, or at least we should have the markings. Those do not seem to be implemented just yet in the beta that I'm using to record this, that indicate whether the stabilizer is in its correctly trimmed position. So that should be 4 units, and you should have a marking over here indicating that. Moving further out, we make sure that the air exhausts over here are not actually blocked. And we ensure that the shit port down here, yes, that's the waste port, is in its closed and locked position. Generally, we take a good look at the condition of our airplane, and then moving further on, we got the emergency exit light down here. Then we got the landing gear, and on this side of the wheel well, there is one more thing that we first of all got to go into again, check the conditions of everything on this side, and then up here we got the fire extinguisher bottles. Now those should also have gauges on them over here and over here, which are hopefully going to be added with the future update to the 737. And those show you the pressure inside the gauge. Make sure, or inside the bottle, make sure that that gauge is in the green position for both of the bottles over here. Well, then we check the same things that we've checked on the other side, so landing gear conditions, then we got the brake wear indicator pins that we find on the past over here and over here. and make sure that if those are wearing down, that the pin is not flush with the metal down here. Those can only be checked when the parking brake has been set, otherwise the indication does not give you any reasonable information, and this may not be flush with the metal down here. If you've got like 0.5 millimeter or something, that's fine, the plane can fly like that, but it must not be completely flush. Now, going along the wing, we're checking for the same things that we checked on the other side, so any signs of damages, bird strikes, and so on. Back here we got the two white navigation lights, we checked the condition of our split skimeter, we checked that on the left side of the plane we got the red nav lights. Again, 2 of them may be inoperative, but minimum of 2 needs to be operative for the airplane to be dispatchable by a minimum equipment list. Now, those dots in the front over here are actually air outlets for the wing anti-ice system, which we gotta make sure are not blocked or damaged over here, and don't show any sign of burn damage or so, because the air that's introduced into those ducts is rather hot, couple hundred degrees, so we want to be sure that there are no damages over here. We once again check the engine, look at the back of the engine, look at the bottom of the engine, check that there are no thrust reverser deactivation pins showing that any access door is closed and properly latched, and then moving to the front of the engine, we once again check the condition of the fan blades and make sure that there is no sign of damages to anything down there. Now, finally, check the leading edge flap and the condition of the landing lights. Check the air conditioning inlet over here, no sign of bird strike damage, the ram door is fully opened. And then going along the back to the front of the airplane, we do have the wing light over here, which is in good condition. Then we got the static ports up here and down here, which are in good shape. The air stair access door is closed. The emergency exit light is in a good condition. And when all of that is checked, we can go right back up and back into our cockpit. And that, my friends, is the outside check of the Boeing 737. Thank you very much for watching. I do hope you found this one interesting. And now let's finally get ready to prepare our FMC in the next tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and then I'm looking forward to see you all again right on the next one.